Are you ready to listen to my dad Joe and Uncle Justin talk about sports? Now on with the show.
The Joe Mays and J-Raff Show is brought to you by Mays Sandwich Shop, which have been serving the greater West Lawn area delicious food for over 70 years.
So get ready! I mean, get ready! Are you ready for some football?
You are listening to the Joe Mays and J-Raff Show. A weekly podcast about sports since 2011. With a focus on football. Now, here are your hosts, Joe Mays and Justin Raffoff.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Joe Mays and J-Raff Show, here for episode 436. I'm not alone. Joining me, as always, is my co-host, Justin Raffoff.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
As we're both sporting our Wilson Bulldogs attire.
That's right.
Wearing red at the beginning of this baseball season. Not for the Phillies, though, because they have decided to already end their season. It's over. We're 3 games in, and I'm already fed up.
Yeah, picking up right where we left off,
I mean, the only thing that makes me happy is being gifted that flag that you just handed to me. So thank you to, that was your parents, correct?
Yep,
Picking it up at the game with opening day. Was
They
that
were there
opening day?
yep.
So that's awesome. So thank you to Jeff and Cheryl. For,
And if you were going to a game this weekend, that was
that
the one
was
to go
the one.
to.
Yeah, they lucked out. They made out. So congratulations on seeing the Phillies only win this season. 1-161. I didn't think it would happen, but here we are. So we're gonna save the doom and gloom Phillies talk for the wheel gods that we're coming up with here, because I've come up with something that we've never done before. Hard to believe, Justin, as we're 436 episodes
which is
in.
limiting it.
But, you know, it's the weird time of year because we're a baseball show by and large. That is our main, we're a football show
right.
by and large. We focus mostly on pro football, a little bit of college football. We do high school football on the other show. But more often than not, we're talking football. So when we get into this spring stuff, that's where over the years in the past we've played the college football video game, just kind of filling topics and things to do. We always do a baseball preview, but there's other things happening, and I thought, why hone in on one and just talk about one when maybe we can touch on a few things that are out there right now. So I've come up with this sports talk roulette, and we're going to toss up random topics and talk for a few minutes before moving on. There are 11 topics. Obviously, some of them are football related because we can't go without, but we've got, the start of the baseball season. We've got a few things that would not be a normal topic on this show, but why not throw our hat in the ring, give our 2 cents about some things in the NBA, the NHL, women's hockey, and whatever. So we're not going to get to all 11. We're going to touch on a few. There's one that if we don't get to, we will cover at the end because it has to do with a contest we're running right now, which I definitely want to put out there. But Justin, what was your thought when I sent you the 11 possible topics for us?
I was excited about it because, I don't know, maybe just my stream of consciousness, that's how my brain works anyway, jumping around. You know this. We've had enough conversations. Our conversations are definitely one of those where it's you have this, and then we get sidetracked onto this story, and then that sidetracks onto this story, and then finally we make our way back to the original story, if I can remember what I was originally talking about. But if not, we already will get there at some point. But, I like the idea. And especially, this time, I don't need to go through the opening series with the Phillies, for an hour. So,
Right.
let's do this.
So I'm using the wheelofnames.com. It's a site where you can enter random stuff, and I have 11 topics for us to discuss this evening. And I should have asked if you had any more, but I was so tired of making different screens for what we picked. I was like, I'm going to cut it off at 11.
We're good.
We're going to stick with that. We're probably only going to talk about 3 or 4 of them anyway.
Right.
So let's not wait any longer. Let's spin this wheel and see what our first topic for episode 436 is going to be. All right, around and around we go.
By the way, I select students like this sometimes.
Do you?
So,
Yeah, I see this used a lot.
They do not. They're not a fan.
Oh boy, Justin,
Here
we're
we go.
starting something unfamiliar territory for
Right.
us. We do not talk NBA basketball very often, but there is something going on that I feel like the other leagues may be interested in because there's been talk from
Absolutely.
At least the NFL outsiders or media. I don't know that it's really trickled down to the fan base. This is again feels like a made up thing that the media is talking about.
Yeah.
As it relates to the NFL, because I have not met a single person who's like the NFL needs to fix their tanking.
Right. Well, yes, I agree. And I also feel like it's interesting because the NBA, well, it's interesting for a number of reasons, but one of them being like, I feel like already the NBA has the most things in place to like combat tanking. Do you know what I mean? Like they already have a lottery.
Right.
They have adjusted the lottery so that it's not a guarantee that if you're the worst team, you get the number 1 pick, which some would argue is actually makes it worse because then you have the worst teams with less guarantee to get the most impactful players and like so you end up perpetually bad as opposed to with a glimmer of hope to get better. It's just there's a lot that goes into it, but like it is interesting. Like I don't know. Being a Sixers fan is also an interesting take on this because
they sort of were trying to do
they
that
were trying
in the
to do it,
mid-2010s.
and then the NBA stepped in and made them fire the GM and hire. They basically hand selected the Colangelos to go in and stop it. Now, again, you can be anti quote unquote the process. That's perfectly fine. But like the NBA meddles a lot, like in the inner workings, and this goes before, Adam Silver. This goes back to David Stern, not David Stern. It was David Stern. Yeah. And
are you talking about the
like,
Patrick Ewing New York Knicks thing, or are you
well,
talking about LeBron James and the Cavaliers?
Well, I'm talking about that. I'm talking about how they have gone in and didn't let Chris Paul get traded to certain teams, but only it's just the NBA is weird when it comes to all of this. That being said, I think I understand how it is bad for business to have teams that want to be bad. Like I can understand how that would be bad for business. I think what is potentially worse for business is having teams that are perpetually bad and without a clear path to get better. The NBA is weird in the sense that in basketball, more than any of the other sports, you're one dude away. Like now, in today's NBA is, I don't care who that guy is that you're drafting number 1. Is he enough to win a championship? Probably not. But is he enough to make you relevant? Yes. Look at the Spurs. The Spurs were bad. They got Wemby, and now they're not bad. They're not competing for a championship necessarily, but they are not bad. And they've got one of the most exciting players in the league.
Yeah, by and large, the NBA is, I'd say, probably the only league where one player can take you from terrible to average, and 2 can take you from terrible to great.
Yeah.
Yeah, season to season. I'm not talking like
No.
the history of the
Right.
league.
No.
But, like, because you only, let's face it, they use what, 6 to 7 guys? Some teams maybe use 8 or 9, but
But once you get to the playoffs, that's the exception.
right.
And the team that can play 8 or 9 guys, The team that can play 8 or 9 guys is probably playing multiple rounds in the playoffs, or is losing in the first round because their top guys aren't that much better than their other guys. But like if your 7th guy can come in and you're not minus in that plus minus category at that point, or your 8th guy can come in, you're looking good. But yeah, when you get to that 7th and 8th guy on a lot of NBA teams, you're already looking at specialty guys already. You're looking at the guy that hits threes but is a liability on the defensive end or something like that for a lot of them. It's wild.
So the anti-tanking measures, and we don't have to break down and these are all proposals. This is not set in stone.
Right.
They're going to be changed. They're going to be tossed to the side. We might find out that it's something completely different. But most of them involve, or at least these 3 definitely involve, taking the 10 worst teams that don't make the playoffs at all, and then adding a additional set of teams that did make the playoffs. Some would be just the play-in tournament teams. Some would include the first round losers. So past the play-in tournament, and then whoever loses in the next round as well. It's interesting what they're trying to do. I don't think it's necessary at all.
No.
In any league. These are, as I say for a lot of things, these are businesses. If they want to make this business decision, so be it. They need to worry about the ramifications from their fan base. And I know the league has a say in this, and if the league doesn't like it, well then, you're going to have to play by the other rules. But I don't think the NBA needs to meddle in this. I never thought the NFL needed to meddle in it, despite what Mr. Loser Pro Football Talk Mike Florio likes to throw out all the time, and he's awful when it comes to his takes on the NFL. He's someone that I talk about all the time. He hates the league that he covers.
Yes.
And he tries to tell you he doesn't. But if you watch the things he writes about and how he writes about them, he hates the NFL.
He hate watches it.
He
and
does.
hate reports on it.
And he tries to talk all the time about growing up and watching football and stuff. I'm like, if you would not cover the league the way you do if you loved football.
Right.
But let's not get off topic here. Let's stick with the NBA.
Not on the wheel.
No, it was not on the wheel.
That's what I should have. Mike Florio.
I have no interest in talking to him or about him unless absolutely necessary. And I felt like he was exactly the first person that comes to mind when it comes to trying to create drama where there is who was ever like the NFL needs to get a lottery because the teams aren't every time someone's like this team is tanking, they win the last week of the season.
Right. Those teams are just bad.
It's happened to the Jets and Giants in back-to-back years recently.
There are just bad teams sometimes. Maybe the Jets are bad every year because they're bad every year. They're a bad organization from the top down. Maybe that's it. It's
right. No, exactly. And the other thing, and this goes to all leagues, all professional sports leagues, probably around the globe, any of them that have any kind of draft for new talent for rookies, having the number 1 pick doesn't guarantee success.
No.
In any league. Now, it's easier in the NBA, but honestly, I feel like the NBA draft is a bigger crapshoot than any of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's the thing with that first proposal, right? The problem I have is I do not see how giving. All right, so let's say you take a team that's a borderline playoff team who would be probably the favorite to win that so-called tournament that would then get you the number 1 overall draft pick. How is taking a team that's making the playoffs, who by all accounts, this probably has fan buy-in, right? I would imagine they have fan buy-in. So you're limiting I think you have a greater chance at limiting the parity. We hear that term all the time here. You have a greater chance at limiting the parity because you're going to take the middle teams and help them, and you're going to leave those teams that need the most help out. You brought it up, and I agree. It's a business thing. I feel like that is very, very short-sighted because you're going to end up with teams that are bad, and they just stay bad. And guess what? It doesn't really matter. No one's going to go there. You can't, the way the NBA contracts are structured, you can't sign enough free agents to get people there. Even though they have a salary cap, they have a salary cap, but it's a soft cap because you can just go over and pay the luxury tax.
Yep, just like baseball.
Right. And I mean, I know the tax is pretty prohibitive at some point. It does become a lot. But I don't feel like, I feel like that's very short-sighted, and all you're going to do is make the teams that are not competitive even less competitive. And then, like, you can't accuse them of tanking. They're just like, now if you had teams out there and the players on the floor are actively not trying, yes, that's a problem. But I don't see that happening outside of the gambling issues, which is a separate issue and not tied to just bad teams. You know, like,
do you know what else is also a separate issue and relates to the NBA kind of being a joke of a product anymore? Their players not being willing to play 82 games in a season.
Right.
Needing to have maintenance nights.
You already have a league whose arguably the regular season is the most meaningless. Now, I know people would be like, well, baseball has twice as many games as basketball.
But, yeah.
I'm like, okay, yes, but there's a lot less, quote-unquote, load management, at least in terms of changes.
Outside of pitchers.
Right, yes, pitchers. But you also, like, look at the amount of teams that make the playoffs. 20 teams make the playoffs in the NBA. So I don't care if there are more games in baseball. More than half the teams, by a lot, are making the playoffs in basketball.
Baseball's 12 now, right? Is it 6 and 6?
I think it's 6 and 6. So you have 12 of 30.
Yeah, because you have 3 divisions of 3 wild cards in each league.
So you have 12 of 30.
And now you have 20 of 32?
Yeah, ish. Yeah.
I can't remember now.
Right.
We just don't talk NBA enough for me to even know how many teams are in the league.
But even if it's 32, 20 of 32 teams making the playoffs.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Right. And I don't think the way to make your product better or to work against tanking or so-called tanking is to reward the teams at 20-16 over the teams at 28-32 or whatever it is. Like, now again, yes, it would be great for those teams in the middle to then, oh man, imagine if you took a team in the middle and, well, like, look at the Sixers. The Sixers are a fringe, like, they're looking at that play-in spot. You know, they're right around that. Imagine if you gave them the number 1 pick. That would be incredible. And, like, as a Sixers, quote-unquote, fan, I would love that. But as a league, if I'm Adam Silver, I'm like, that's not what we need. We need the worst team in the league to be better. Like, you know, like, as a league, we need the worst teams to be better. Yeah. We don't need the middle teams to also be good. I just think it's short-sighted, some of that anti-tanking. I think. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I know, like, some bad basketball, and maybe they're not giving great effort. I don't know, but
right.
It feels like they're making this a bigger problem than it really is.
Right.
Especially when, and I'll go back to calling the draft in every league a crapshoot.
Yes.
Nothing is a given or guarantee. According to my very quick research, the modern version of the NBA draft came into being in about 1985.
Yep.
Is when things changed. And that was when
they used the frozen envelope.
I was going to say the frozen envelope with Patrick Ewing to go from Georgetown and be drafted number 1 overall by the New York Knicks. And he's a Hall of Famer. 2 years later, David Robinson was drafted by the Spurs. Obviously, that's a huge one coming from the university. Oh, no. That would be the Naval Academy.
Yes.
And he won. Did he win multiple with the Spurs?
So.
In the late 90s, right? And then Shaquille O'Neal and Chris Webber were drafted back-to-back number 1 overall, ended up in the Hall of Fame. Allen Iverson makes the Hall of Fame. Tim Duncan, the Spurs again. Yao Ming, Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard is the last Hall of Famer to be drafted number 1 overall in 2004. Obviously, there's
some of these guys will be.
Will be. Obviously, LeBron was going to make it 3 in a row.
Right.
But you have a few number 1 overall picks that never made the All-Star team.
Right.
Kwame Brown the year before Yao Ming in 2001.
Became a Sixer eventually.
Bargnani to the Raptors in 2006. Greg Oden to the Trailblazers in 2007. That was a big one. I remember watching him at Ohio State, but he could not stay healthy. And then you have some all-star guys in Derrick Rose, Blake Griffin,
Career
John
injuries.
Wall, Kyrie Irving, Anthony Davis. But it's not a slam dunk, and it hasn't been a slam dunk for a long time. Are these guys good? Yeah, they have all-star selections.
Right.
Not Hall of, but if you're tanking to get the number 1 overall pick, you should be drafting a Hall of Famer.
Right.
Like, that's who you need to get to turn things around. And it just hasn't happened. I mean, look at the Sixers back-to-back in 16-17, got Ben Simmons and Markelle Fultz. Number 1 overall.
Out of the league and just signed a 10-day contract in the league.
So hasn't been great. Honestly, I couldn't even tell you who went number 1 overall in 2024.
Yeah,
I have never heard of that person ever. Probably because he didn't play at the United States in a college. But it just I feel like they're making a bigger deal of it than they need to. That's the whole point. And we'll wrap up there and we'll go back to spinning the wheel and finding out our next topic. And that is going to be round and around we go. Looks like we are going to crap. First days of the MLB season, so I guess we are going to be talking Philadelphia Phillies here. Gladly remove that one. See where we end up with the next cycle. But I put the basketball one up. Let's get MLB. Where are we at? MLB. All right. So baseball has begun. Phillies underway. Unfortunately, we mentioned. Thankfully, your parents got to see the opening day game, an opening day win. They eventually did have to work for it. They looked like they were cruising until the 9th. And then literally, Kelly and I watched a lot of spring training baseball. The reliever they trotted out there, I didn't know he was on the roster, and I did not see him pitch in spring training. I know that T-Mac and John Kruk were talking about how well he pitched in spring training. I was like, I watched probably at least 50% of the spring training games. I didn't see him pitch in a single one, or at least it didn't get lodged in my brain that he pitched in a single one. And, of course, watching spring training baseball, I am definitely half watching and listening. I probably saw him on the mound at some point. I had never heard of him before. But it was like, well, hey, T-Mac and Kruk saying it did pretty good. Right. Well, next thing you know, Juan Duran is warming up and is coming into the game, and he is able to get out of it, and the Phillies get a win. But that would be the only win so far, 3 games in. It snapped the Phillies' 10-series win streak at home. They had won every game, every series at home, I should say, since the end of July of last year. I guess that's regular season only.
Yes.
So that ends, and it's this same story that we've seen now for the better part of 2.5 years. The offense sucks.
Yes.
There's no other way to put it. Schwarber had a home run in the first game. Turner did pretty well. Bohm had a home run. That has pretty much been it until the 9th inning yesterday.
Live or die by the home runs. That's our offense. Which
the Phillies were gifted base runners and eventually runs because of Jake Berger errors at first base. They have been dreadful. They were no hit through 4 2/3 or something yesterday. 5 innings today. Or I might have that backwards. I don't know.
No, it was in the 6th inning.
4 to 5.
Hit today.
Just unacceptable and absolutely ridiculous for a team and to have that payroll and those expectations to look this terrible this soon in the season. Unfortunately, Aaron Nola
looks like he did last year.
Yeah, it doesn't look much
better
than last year.
It's been all pregame show yesterday talking about how excited they were and how they think he went back to his old workout routine and they're ready to turn the page on last year because he didn't get it done and he looks exactly like he did last year. Okay, gave up 2 home runs and gave up 3 runs, which 3 runs in itself isn't terrible, but when the offense not scoring at all, it feels insurmountable. But yeah, it's just they're frustrating. And again, what's frustrating is we've gone to the guys who need to get it done are the guys who
are not
seemingly consistently don't get it done.
Yeah, well, I mean, just look at the way they tied the game yesterday was as the result of pinch hitting, right? Mm-hmm. Garcia got it done. You're talking 6, 7, 8, 9 in the lineup are the guys getting hits or getting on base. Look, walks and hit by pitch all count when it talks about getting guys on base. So sometimes that is always better than a strikeout when you're not even putting the freaking ball in play.
And that's been another big problem. Not only have they not been getting hits, they have not been putting the ball in play, which is that can't happen. Yeah, it's frustrating because and what adds to the frustration is that this is how the season has ended multiple times in a row now. They literally, I know they keep, and man, tell me this isn't like coming from the top down. How many times did you hear them say and the media say like over the last couple of days, like, oh, this Phillies roster has eight new people in it. Like, I feel like if T-Mac said that one more time, I'm just like, yeah, we know. I feel like because the Phillies organization is very defensive about the whole run it back idea. They don't like being told that you're just running it back. Well, yeah, but you are. Like, all the key pieces, you're running it back. And look, that's okay. Like, if that's the decisions you've made, like, that's okay. The team's like, they have the guys where they should be able to compete. And you make the playoffs, you roll the dice, but like, you are running it back. We are. There isn't a single like key piece. I mean, Garcia's the one, right? I guess Garcia's the one like big piece like change because if you swapping out with Castellanos, and I don't know that it's a huge like difference, but like that's the biggest piece like that they've changed. So it's hard to argue that it's not running it back, and we'll see how it goes. But it's a long season, and I think they'll be okay. But like, it would be nice if you saw some things that like showed some difference, and through 3 games, you've yet to see any difference than what we've come to know of the Phillies the last few years.
We've seen this movie play out 3 straight Octobers, where they can't hit when they need to. So it sucks. I mean, we look forward to this for how long? We watch 6 weeks of spring training ball and are excited that baseball is back, and it lasted all of 1 day.
Right.
Like I'm miserable thinking talking about this right now. I'm just like, I really was hoping this one wasn't coming up.
But it's okay because it's not exactly what happened to Team USA in the World Baseball Classic.
Right, exactly. With the freaking all-star lineup. So it's a long season. There's 159 games left. They have the Nationals, who they have played pretty well against.
The kid looked good in center field.
Yeah, that's
he's
probably the bright spot. Justin Crawford
and Christopher Sanchez looked awesome. He looked like an ace.
He
which
looks
is great.
I mean, he finished runner-up in the Cy Young.
Zach Wheeler had a good rehab outing.
Yeah,
along with the all-you-can-eat ribs at Lehigh Valley.
So my family and my parents are going to the Reading Phillies opener on April 7th.
Okay.
And I know they said that Wheeler's pitching at AA Reading, but I think he's going to miss it by a day or two. I think he's probably going to pitch the 8th or the 9th, maybe even the 10th, because he's doing another rehab assignment in Lehigh Valley. I think Zalecki said Friday, which is a long time in between starts, but maybe that's by choice to ramp him up.
Yeah.
So he's going to pitch Friday, which would be is that the 3rd, April 3rd, Friday, I think.
Yes.
So 5 days rest would put him around April 8th probably, but I think because of them putting more and more time between his starts than normal, he's probably looking at no earlier than the 8th, probably more like the 9th or 10th. So I think we're not going to get to see him at AA Reading. But that game will be awesome because I believe it's the home opener. They're giving out their basically the AA Baseball Town version of City Connect hat and jersey.
Oh, wow.
To the first 3,000 people.
That's awesome.
So I got the reserve parking and the reserve seats, and we're all gonna meet out there and then have a good night.
Yeah, that should be a good time.
And I look forward to getting the Baseball Town version. Anytime you're giving out free stuff that I would probably buy if you weren't giving it to me free, I'm happy about that. So we're gonna make sure we grab that on Tuesday, April 7th. But I'm going to call it there, Justin. I don't want to talk about baseball anymore because I'm already very frustrated. And I got texts from my wife and my dad that were basically like, move on. Because Kelly loves baseball. Kelly loves Phillies baseball.
Hey, it's a long season. We'll be good. There's no tanking going on here. We just...
yeah, definitely not.
No.
Not in Philadelphia,
but
at least.
I'm ready for them to kick it into gear and compete. So.
Talk about a weird baseball draft, because it's held in the middle of the season and it has to do, I don't even really
and how about
know
this?
How they
how about
come
their
up with
anti-tanking? You can only have the top pick like however many times, and then like it doesn't matter if you're the worst team, you can't get it. and they bump you down.
Well, I feel like the Orioles and the Pirates.
I think that happened to the Orioles a couple years ago.
Well, and they walked away with Adley Rutschman, Gunnar Henderson,
Right.
maybe what's his name,
Right.
Jackson.
But also,
Holiday.
yeah, talk about one where like it's a crapshoot.
Yeah.
Like,
Who knows?
Right.
The Orioles were good a few years ago. Sorry, Mike Drago. Sorry. Didn't work out last year, that's for sure. All right, let's move on and come up with another topic to talk about. We can probably get at least 2 more in.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see where we haven't gotten any football topics yet, Justin. We went NBA and then MLB. So where are we going? All right, we're gonna go
man.
NHL.
Yes.
We are the sports gods were saying you talk football
Yes,
too much. We are going to move elsewhere. That's okay. I know a little bit more about NHL, at least Flyers related, and that's probably what we're going to focus on here is talking
Yes.
about the Philadelphia Flyers. And while I think that the odds of them making the playoff are still small, they cooled off a bit in the middle of the
Right.
season because at one point I remember messaging the group saying the
Yes.
Flyers are on pace for 100 points.
right.
They've cooled off a bit, but they are clawing their way back out. They've been
I know.
really good since
Right
the Olympic break.
Right after the Olympics, I look and I'm like, oh man, they don't really have any shot at
No.
making the playoffs.
It
And
hasn't
then
been
they've
great.
played pretty well since the return from the Olympics, and I'm like, oh man, they've reeled me back in. Like, well, they won 3 in a row on that road trip out west.
Yes,
and,
they won. They swept the West Coast.
yeah.
Yeah. So they are currently outside,
Yes.
but not by much. They're 3 points back of the Columbus Blue Jackets. The Flyers are playing right now as we speak. The puck is being dropped in Philadelphia. So huge game going. I think it's against the Dallas Stars. Yes, it is. 7 p.m. against Dallas Stars. Must-win game. Basically, all of theirs
they
are
gotta
must-win.
Right.
But counting the game tonight that's happening right now,
and
they have 10 left.
If you're gonna lose, you got to lose in overtime.
Right. You need to get as many points as
Right,
possible. So I saw somewhere that I think a win tonight against the Stars in overtime, and probably depends on what else Columbus does today. If they, I don't know if they played already.
Like,
or
I
if they're
don't think
playing
they
now.
can catch. I don't want to say can't catch the Bruins, but like that the Columbus spot is the one we're after.
because they're playing the Bruins.
So we need the Bruins
right
to win
now. We actually want the Bruins to win because they're the top wild card team.
Right.
So, and they're 3 points ahead of the Blue Jackets. So I mean, the Flyers are 6 points behind the Bruins. I'd rather the Bruins pull away because we're
Yes.
chasing
Yes.
Columbus. Now we lost to them
Right.
just a few nights ago, but the Flyers are 7-2-1 in their last 10 games. They've won a program franchise record tying record 8 in a row on the road. Tonight's in Philadelphia. They need to win that game. It's against a West Coast team, Western Conference team, but they just need to keep winning.
Need the points.
They need the points tonight because this game tonight is their game in hand. After their game tonight, they'll match, I think, most other teams with 9 games left
Right.
to play. So this is a huge game
But
tonight.
like, if the Bruins could win and the Flyers win tonight, they would then. Well, they would still have a game in hand, right? Because the Blue Jackets. Oh, is the Blue Jackets game counting already? Did they? Is their game over?
Their game is not over yet.
Okay.
Their game is not
So,
over
like-
yet. So, but they would still have a game in hand.
They would still have a game in hand over the Blue Jackets and could be 1 point behind them.
1 point away. Yeah. But they're not the only one chasing Columbus.
No, exactly.
The
exactly.
Capitals are. They're only 1 point behind the Flyers. The Devils and Maple Leafs are out of it, but the Red Wings and Senators are tied at 86 points, 1 point behind Columbus. So there's a lot of moving pieces. The Flyers have not made the playoffs since the 1920 season, and if you remember what happened in 2020, things got weird. The Flyers actually were predicted by many to at least make the Eastern Conference Final, if not make the Stanley Cup
they were
championship.
having a really good
because
season.
they were coming together at the right time. The way they were playing it after the holidays, especially Valentine's Day and trade deadline stuff, they were steamrolling and looking really good, like maybe the best team in the Eastern Conference. Then, of course, COVID stopped everything. They eventually got this bubble playoff thing where they played 3 entry games where you then got seeded based on how you performed in this round robin. Well, the Flyers swept that and ended up being the number 1 seed. So they picked up right where they left off. They then won, I believe, in 6 games over the Montreal Canadiens, and then they lost in 7 games to the New York Islanders.
But even
and it's
in
been
that,
downhill since.
Even in that 6 games against the Canadians, you were like, this doesn't look like
Felt like
the
they'd
team,
pull away.
Right.
Yeah.
Like they struggled through that. Yeah, and then couldn't get it done against the Islanders.
Yeah, and so they might have actually gotten kicked out of the playoffs while we were on a random fall vacation around Labor Day, which usually doesn't happen because I'm deep in high school football and coaching middle school, but none of that was happening.
Not in 2020.
So we went to Lake Wallenpaupack, and we're
yeah.
hanging out in a really cool Airbnb for a few days with my family, my parents, my sister's family, my
How
aunt
crazy
and
is
uncle.
it that was 6 years ago?
Yeah, which happy birthday, Aunt Joyce, celebrating
yeah,
today.
fun.
Actually, a few more family birthday shout-outs. Happy belated to Todd and Jameson, both celebrated this week. Both have been on the show in the past.
Yes.
Jameson had another good showing in our March Madness pool, which we will eventually get to. If it's not a random topic, we will cover it at the end. So, yeah, a lot of May's birthdays in March. Earlier this month, my uncle celebrated, Uncle Dennis. So, yeah, March is a great time, and my brother-in-law Jason's on Tuesday, so a lot happening with birthdays around here. But we were with basically everyone I just mentioned. We were at this Labor Day home and watching the Flyers, who were up 3-2, I believe, in that series, and then lost 4-3. I think that's right. It's been 6 years, so I might be off.
Well, it's
a
not
little
like
bit,
something
but-
you want to relive.
Well, right,
over and over.
yeah, I was disappointed because I was expecting them to at least make the conference final, and then they fell to the Islanders.
Well, the tough thing
and-
is that stretch in the middle of the season might be too much to overcome here. But I don't know. Like, I feel like when we talked about this in October, just briefly mention it, maybe not on the show because I know we didn't have a show at that time, but like you and I like talk about it, like they were still, you're like, they're still a little bit away, the Flyers, but like they're appear to be like they're trending in the right direction, you know, like, and the fact that they didn't just collapse from that in the middle of the season and have just terrible rest of the season that they've picked up again. Man, it would be awesome if they could make the playoffs just as kind of like that next step and then look to like maybe win a bit in the playoffs next year. You know, just playoff hockey is exciting, man.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll
What's
see.
very interesting is the Flyers. Obviously, every team has it in front of them. You win, you're going to make the playoffs. Most likely, if you win all your remaining 8-9 games, you're probably going to make the playoffs. That's a lot of points to stumble upon at the end of the season. However, the Flyers are in an interesting part where their next game is Tuesday against the team right behind them, the Capitals, that they could really separate themselves and kick the Capitals to the curb. They also have 2 games left against the Detroit Red Wings, who they're also chasing.
Yeah.
They just beat them last night. They were up 4-0 and then kind of struggled to hold on and win that one 5-3. I was getting a little anxious about it. But they also play the Bruins, who they're chasing as well. That's a big game. They don't play the Blue Jackets anymore. They lost to them twice in the last 2 weeks. Once in a shootout.
Good. We don't play them anymore.
But have some tough games. They've got to play the Islanders, the Hurricanes, the Canadians is their final game on April 14th. But those 2 against Detroit are huge. Keeping the momentum going against Dallas tonight, beat the Capitals on Tuesday, and really got to play strong over these final 9 games starting Tuesday with the Capitals, and hopefully with a win tonight against the Stars. But the Flyers, you know, it's been Philadelphia's not used to having a struggling hockey team by and large. I mean, I know every so often there's a dip, and there's some issues, but I mean, really growing up, when I started to really like Flyers hockey, it was like basically the Eric Lindros stuff. I didn't know all the drama surrounding him arriving in Philadelphia, but in those mid 90s when they started to get good, and then that 97 Cup run and all the years after that, I just sent you a thing on Instagram today about they just ran some random site. So take it with a grain of salt, but the 03-04 Flyers were voted by this site as the number 10 best team of all time to not make the Stanley Cup. Maybe, I don't know if it was to not win the Stanley Cup or to not make the Stanley Cup final, but I remember that one against the Tampa Bay Lightning and how awful it felt for them to lose that series and not make the Stanley Cup. I'll never forget the 99-2000 season where Eric Lindros came back and got steamrolled by Scott Stevens, and they were up on the New Jersey Devils 3-1, and proceeded to lose the next 3 games, including Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals, of which I was at. So the Flyers have taken a lot from us in our childhood, Justin, growing up. And I remember back in 2020, the miraculous run from not even knowing if you were making the playoffs until the last game of the season against the Rangers in a shootout that catapulted them to the 7th seed. And then they had the magical run to the Stanley Cup final where they lost to the Chicago Blackhawks in 6 games, and the game winner was in overtime. But before that, just to get there, they had to come back from 3-0 down against the Boston Bruins.
And then be down 3-0 in Game 7.
Game 7. So, yes. And then immediately they traded Mike Richards and... who's the Jeff Carter?
Yep.
I guess, was that a year? That might have been a year later. They might have kept them
Right,
all
but
together
it
for a
was-
year, but it was like quickly. All of a sudden, you're
Yeah.
like, "What is happening?
Yeah.
Where are we going here?" And by and large, it hasn't been great since that 2010 run. Really, like
Right, they've had little blips here and there, but there hasn't
Not-
been
not
sustained,
much of one,
has
yeah.
not been sustained success in 16 years since.
so.
Which probably over the stretch of the Flyers is probably along the longest streak of like down times. Now, like you said, there's a couple blips in there, but yeah, not.
But
cool.
I mean, by and large, they came into the league in I think '67 jumps out to me. Part of the 1967 NHL expansion, first of the expansion teams in the post-original 6 area to win the Stanley Cup. Obviously, my parents still remember that in 73, 74, and 74, 75. But just pretty successful team by and large. A few blips here and there, but overall, the Flyers have been fairly successful. So this, 6-year drought or whatever would be, it's just really, really frustrating, to say the least. I'm trying to pull up to see. So let's see. There's a 5-year drought. Oh, no, that's not true because they were making the playoffs. So one did not qualify, then in it every year, have not missed it yet, still going. Okay. Very late 80s, early 90s, just right before, honestly, I remember becoming a fan. They finished 5th or 6th in the Patrick division, or what was renamed the Atlantic division, or they reorganized things in 93, 94, didn't qualify. Then they made the playoffs every year, and this is when the big time in the mid to late 90s, Justin, that I'm talking about. I don't think they missed the playoffs until, it was after the lockout. So they had made the playoffs every year from, 94, 95, all the way until 06, 07. 06, 07, they didn't make it, but then they jumped back and made it again. So this is the longest playoff drought in
our lifetime.
In our lifetime for sure. But so they matched the 5 years from 89-90 through 93-94. They didn't make it, and we're now at so if they don't make it this year, it is the new record for the longest playoff drought. So we'll see what happens. But they had that great 1920 season and had the rug pulled out from under them with COVID, and then came up short against the Islanders and have just been pretty bad since. Some people accuse them of tanking.
Except the couple times they could have tanked, they've won too many games.
Right. Yeah, they didn't ever end up with the number 1 pick.
No, and not even close. Like a couple of times they ended up with like the 8th or 9th pick, like when they were one of the worst teams in hockey.
So they haven't been great. They were really bad in 21, 22. They only won 25 games, 25 out of 82 games. So this is the best season they've had since that 1920 season.
I'd love to see them. What'd you say? They have 9 games left?
Counting tonight, yes.
How many do you think? I mean, I know a big part of it is which ones they win, but how many do you think they need to win?
That is a good question.
Are either of those teams they play the last 2 days, are either of those like locked into place? Because
could they rest some people?
Right.
So the Flyers are at 36 wins right now. let me pull up because I said they play the Canadians, right?
UConn and Duke is a 1-point game with under a minute left.
Oh
right now.
boy.
Yeah.
So, all right. So the Canadians are currently in third in the Eastern Division. They're the last of the teams to make it. So they got 92 points. They need to keep fighting. The Canadians do, because they're only 2 points in front of the Bruins. So really, like, a collapse by the Canadians could jeopardize things. Now, by the last game of the season, they probably will know if they're in or not, unless they do have a problem. Hurricanes are one of the best teams in the league, so that's a good thing for the Flyers' schedule. Is that the Hurricanes will have it locked up by then. They'll probably know what's going on, unless they're worried about where they finish for seeding and things like that.
Right.
So we know that the Dallas one impacts them directly, but not with Western.
Right.
It's a Western Conference team. So Red Wings more important on next Thursday. Islanders are also in second place. They're fighting. So I don't think that. Red Wings fighting, Islanders fighting, Bruins fighting, Devils not really fighting. That should be
Absolute must win.
You have to win that.
Right.
Red Wings fighting.
Must and essentially a must win because you're competing with them directly. Like, you, at a minimum, you have to split those two with the Red Wings, and then you're still asking for help. If you win both against the Red Wings, that could be a huge swing.
Yeah. Now the Stars are one of the best teams and have locked up a spot in the playoffs already. Right. They're the second best team in the NHL. So this is a rough game,
right,
to have tonight. But
okay,
hey,
but maybe you sneak out a win. Maybe you can get it to overtime. Get a point.
The next team that the Flyers play would then be the Winnipeg Jets, and they are fighting for a wild card spot in the West. And then they have they finished the season with back-to-back games. They are at
3
home.
games in 4 days.
They are at home, though, for Hurricanes and Canadians. And you just heard me say that the Hurricanes and Canadians are two of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. Hurricanes are number 1 right now. Canadians are number 4.
Right.
But maybe they have wrapped up that they could maybe play a backup goalie, or they could sit players. I don't know. We'll see. But just take care of business. The Flyers have been playing really well of late. I hope that middle season slump doesn't come back to bite them, but it has been a successful season.
But you know what would be exciting is to get hot here and not rely on the other teams, but win your way in, to win your way into the playoffs,
right?
And enter hot, and hey, maybe they'd probably be at that last spot, but maybe you put a scare in somebody,
hey, they were the number 7 seed in 2010 and made the Stanley Cup final.
If you're healthy and hot at the end of the season, you never know, especially in hockey.
Yeah. You never know. And big-time Flyers news, they signed their number 6 overall draft pick out of Michigan State, Porter Martone today to an entry-level deal. I thought had been discussions about possibly getting him on the roster and ready to go. I don't know if that's going to happen here at the end of the year or not. But the Flyers have a nice young core. It's a down year for Matvei Michkov. He's definitely had a sophomore slump. Unfortunately, the guys around him that were also rookies last year have all taken a step up, including a Flyers draft pick that was sent away in Cutter Gauthier. That whole drama a year and a half ago. So we need Michkov to become who most people thought he could be. But even if they miss out on the playoffs this year, I do feel that things are ripe for a step forward next year. I'm not saying they're going to win a division or make a conference final, but to make the playoffs, I think, is absolutely feasible next season. And at that point, it'll have been 6 seasons without playoff hockey in Philadelphia, and that is just inexcusable. So, all right, let's quick. We're going to do one. We can only spend about 5 minutes on it because if it's not March Madness, we need to get to March Madness. As you said, there's an ongoing close game right now. So let's find out what our last topic is. All right, the wheel is finishing up, and we are going to land on no NFL football topics tonight. No Penn State, no NFL draft, no NFL refs, no flag football, no NFL offseason. All of those skipped over by the sports gods looking over this wheel. And we're going to quickly talk about the Professional Women's Hockey League which is in its, I believe, third year as an organized professional North American league. It started in 23-24. The teams didn't even have like mascots then. They were just regional based.
Right.
There were 6 teams, I believe. They then grew to 8 teams this year in year 3, and they are now looking to expand by at least 2, quite possibly 4 more teams, which just means that the sport is growing. And anyone that paid attention to the Olympics and the hockey tournament there and the reactions to professional women's hockey since then, it's been extremely good.
Right.
Things have been moving in the direction of sellouts on this stadium tour. I said to Kelly yesterday, as I chose to watch, I texted you. I was like,
Yes.
I just turned on a PWHL game. I don't have an allegiance to any of those teams yet. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to pick a team yet. I'm going to wait until Tessa Janicki finds a team in the draft this summer, which I think is supposed to be in June. They do not have a date yet. But for those of you that haven't been watching, Tessa Janicki is the most decorated Penn State women's ice hockey player ever. She's likely a top 5 pick in the draft coming up. She won Olympic gold with Team USA at the Olympics this year. She's a brilliant young hockey player, and I'm going to see where she goes and then maybe pick that team as my team to watch, because Philadelphia is not an expansion market that's come up. But they're, I need to pull up. I put on the NHL. Let me pull up. I have a PWHL. Yeah, here we go. So yesterday's game was the first ever nationally televised professional women's hockey league game. It was on, I think it was the Ion Network, and it was between the Montreal Victoire and the New York Sirens. I was drawing a blank as to what their team name was. The New York Sirens. And I realized that it was being played in Detroit, and I was like, well, this is not a playoff game. Why would it be at a neutral? And then I realized it was their tour that they go on to kind of try to grow the game, try to grab more sponsors. And Detroit is one of the possibilities for expansion. When they've done the inaugural season and the expansion, it's always been split evenly between the United States and Canada. So the first 6 teams were 3 U.S., 3 Canada. The next expansion was 1 American, 1 Canadian. Not sure if that's going to continue for this next set of expansion. Could be 2 teams, could be 4, but things are trending nicely. They are visiting a sold-out Madison Square Garden on April 11th. Women's and girls hockey registrations climbed steeply after the Olympics, that they see a surge each time Team USA or USA Hockey had their 100,000th registration. And the PWHL is very strong and growing, and we could see Detroit as a possible destination. Denver, I think, is a shoe-in. So if they go to 4, I think Denver and Detroit are very likely. Do they also add then 2 more in Canada? It's possible. Edmonton is seen as a likely destination, and then also possibly Halifax or Hamilton. So we'll see what happens. It's a fun league to watch. They, especially coming off of the Olympics, where you were hearing about Team USA and Hockey Canada and the players that each of those squads have, it's seen as quite possibly the best draft in professional women's hockey history, especially in the PWHL age. So we'll see what happens, but I'm definitely interested in what's going on, because the talent coming from college hockey to professional women's hockey is at an all-time high. And watching the Olympic Games, it's very exciting. So I'm interested to see what the expansion cities are and when and where the draft will be, because I'd like to see where some of these the women that we just watched win Olympic gold, where they're going to be playing professionally.
Yeah, and it's been really interesting. I feel like they're doing a really good job of capturing the energy and having quick responses and kind of building things. And yeah, it's interesting because we kind of started, one of our first topics was like some of the established leagues that seemingly can't get out of their own way with certain things. And then you have like these developing leagues that are clawing for every little bit of attention and everything. And honestly, some of them are doing a really good job of it, and it's just exciting to see.
Absolutely. So I will be paying attention. I'll try to drop it in when there's more information, like when they announce expansion and draft information. The expansion stuff was decided last year or announced at the end of April, so I would think that's the latest it would happen. I'd expect it in the next 2 to 3 weeks, so we'll see. Justin, you've got an update for us on March Madness.
Yes. Duke was up 72-70, turned the ball over, and UConn hit a three-pointer with near no time left and beat Duke 73-72. And that has huge implications in many brackets, including the show's bracket challenge, which now that forecast, oh boy, has it changed.
So we were
It
looking
has
at the
changed.
forecast. I was hoping to talk about it here. We didn't get to it when it would have been a fun discussion,
Right,
Justin,
right,
because
right.
the top 5 in it was Colton, your
Yes.
son, your youngest son,
Yeah.
you,
Yep.
your mom,
Yep.
Natalie,
Yep.
and Brandon Doms,
Right.
one of the Wilson football coaches. That was the top 5 in terms of projections of
Yes.
what could happen, who is likely to win. I'm now showing you the most up-to-date standings in our bracket challenge. Actually, now I'm showing it to you. The winner right now the leader right now doesn't even have the champ available to them. Sharon High's picks, where she had Florida, she's leading with 960 points. Her max, though, is only 1120. But in first with the champ still available is Brandon Doms with Arizona. Then your mom is tied in second with Michigan. So I'm going to pull up now. Let's go to, of course, Natalie and I had Duke winning. So now we are done. So let's pull up the new group forecast and see what's going on. So right now it looks like Brandon Doms has a 40% chance, almost 41% chance to win our bracket challenge here in 2026. His best path to win, Arizona making the national championship, and for Illinois to not win it all. So he is rooting against Illinois. He has a 55% chance of finishing in the top 3. So Brandon, a good showing. I believe in one of the brackets he said he knows football, not basketball, out here proving himself wrong. Up next here is, this doesn't have a name attached to it. I feel like I might know who it is, but someone who picked Michigan, it's got about a 30% chance to win. Obviously, he needs Michigan and Illinois to reach the national championship, and probably Michigan to win would be my guess. But a 62% chance of almost 63% finishing in the top 3. Now the one that everyone here is probably most interested in, your mom, Justin.
Yeah.
Tied for second right now. She needs Michigan to win it all and UConn to be in the national championship. So a Connecticut-Michigan game might give your mom the win. We'll see what happens there. Most max points does belong to Brandon with this other Michigan bracket. I want to say that's possibly Glenn Miller, but I don't know for certain. Sharon High, currently in first, does not have a champ, but if Illinois wins it all against Arizona, she would win. That probably is the first time in history that the bracket challenge winner didn't pick the national champion.
Or national, like that didn't have their team make the final
Didn't have
four.
yeah.
Like, because if you do have a really good bracket, I could see how you could maybe lose the championship game, but like you had someone, you know what I mean? Like if you had earned enough points over someone else there, thinking of like the years like where Butler lost then you would have had to have Butler losing. But you know, like I don't know. It just I could see how you maybe have a finalist, but they don't win it all.
Yeah.
But
which means she did really, really well everywhere else, just rode with Florida. Unfortunately, this does mean, Justin, that Colton, Jamie, and yourself cannot win anymore. And two-time winner, not back-to-back, but 2 out of the last 3 years, Andy Hoffert, now knocked out as well. And down here is Brandon Dom's second bracket entry, and Andy Hoffert's second bracket entry here at the bottom. No longer can win. So there are only 4 people that now can win after that shocking result with Duke. And that is Brandon Doms. I want to say that's Glenn Miller, Cheryl Raffoff, Sharon High. Those are your 4. One of those 4 will win the 2026 bracket
and
challenge.
with one of those, well, maybe not, but I feel like I know what Sharon High would pick as a topic.
I would think Penn State.
100%. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So-
It would be Penn State something. I assume it would be Penn State football. I don't know that, but like I guarantee it would be Penn State something.
So no NFL uniforms from us tonight, Justin. No NFL talk at all. We got all those. I had spanned like 4 or 5 NFL topics in there, and the wheel didn't pick a single one. A single one.
Do your kids watch the Dude Perfect videos? Like, or do you watch?
No,
them?
they.
Okay.
I've seen them.
Right. So
I'm
the boys,
aware,
the
but-
boys love them, and they do like their wheel of unfortunate, and like it's the consequences that they have for things. Like,
I wonder if Paul is going nuts. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Huge run by the Huskies. We've got a game of 3:42 left. That just happened. There's a reason I stress understanding time, scoring situation all the time. Hold the ball and
Yep.
make 2 free throws and the game is over. They have to foul you.
right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Should we call Adam live?
I'm not going to, but I thought of it.
Yeah. Imagine if we did that while the game was going on, what the reaction would have been. I don't know that it would have been PG. I'm not sure about that. So,
Yeah.
All right. Any shout outs or anything you wanted to mention, Justin, before we get out of here?
Not off the top of my head. No.
All right, I mentioned before, but I'll say again, happy belated birthday to my Uncle Dennis, to my cousin Todd, to his son Jameson, and happy birthday today to my Aunt Joyce, and next week to my brother-in-law Jason. And we will not have a show next Sunday. It is Easter. We'll spend time with our families. We will have a show in 2 weeks on April 12th. And I have no idea what the topic will be. Maybe we'll go back to the wheel. I don't know. We'll see. We will know the bracket winner by then. Maybe they'll be joining us because
Yeah.
it could be your mom.
Right.
It could be Sharon High, who is local as well. Brandon Doms, also local. Glenn Miller, I don't think lives too far away. If that's even him, I don't know if that's his bracket or not. I was trying to put the pieces together. I think it could be, but maybe they'll be joining us. I don't know. We'll see. Whoever wins and what topic they pick. Again, all of the date, appearance, and shirt size and topic all have to be approved and available. So we're not going to have any shenanigans in here.
Any more than normal.
We'll cross that. Yeah, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So, all right. Well, then that's it.
I was already getting a text from my mom. Guess what I'm going to pick?
Veto. All right. Well, thanks for joining us, everyone, for episode 436 of the Joe Mays and J-Raff Show. Have a blessed Holy Week and a wonderful Easter. Justin and I will be back in 2 weeks to talk more professional and collegiate sports around the globe, and apparently not football, as we did not get blessed to get a football topic on Sports Roulette tonight. Disappointing.
There we go.
All right. So thanks for listening, everyone. We'll be back in 2 weeks.
That's a wrap on this episode of the Joe Mays and J-Raff Show, brought to you by Mays Sandwich Shop. You can watch each weekly episode live on Facebook, Periscope, or YouTube. Be sure to like, follow, or subscribe to the show on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, and Google Play. You can also rate and review us on many of these platforms as well. We'd love to hear from you. Send your emails to the Mays Sandwich Shop inbox at joemaysandjraff@gmail.com. The Joe Mays and J-Raff Show is a part of the JMNJR Radio Network, home to other productions such as the Bulldog Hour, Tangents with Friends, and Nat Chats with Dad. Until next time.